Alright, so the purpose of me making this video is a reaction to the Bonzoleum live chat that took place on Thursday, April 22nd with PAISTE Bob. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is a chat put on by Bonzoleum, whose real name is Terry. And for the purposes of this video, and because I feel like it, we'll call him Terrible Terry. Now, Terrible Terry had a long chat with PAISTE Bob, and the reason why I'm making this reaction video is because, as you can see, Terrible Terry has almost 60,000 subscribers, and I felt like at some point during this chat, those people were fed some really shite information. So let's go through it and see what I'm reacting to. So I'm going to let Terrible Terry introduce his friend PAISTE Bob in his own words.
All right, so here I have some of PAISTE Bob's finest giant beats, known to the whole wide world. Now, I'm telling you, PAISTE Bob Marzalek, even though I think I probably first told him about giant beats, he's a fellow Zeppelin and Bonham aficionado hardcore. But he knows more about vintage PAISTE cymbals than anybody I know, and I think there is, because he's obsessive compulsive like a lot of us Bonham drum freaks. And I think he's owned just trillions and trillions of original 602s, giant beats, 2002s. He's traveled the world, or the world has come to him via eBay UK. So what I have here, well, right here of the high.
Okay, so just heard that PAISTE Bob knows more about vintage PAISTEs than anybody else there is in Terrible Terry's own words. He's played trillions of PAISTEs. That's impressive. I'm gonna assume that's an exaggeration. Bought them from all around the world. We'll have to take Terry's word for that, unless Bob wants to come and be on some kind of live collaboration chat and confirm or deny that. Anyways, moving along. Here is what was said at some point during the chat, about 53 minutes in. I'm going to play it, and then we're going to talk about it.
Yes, they do.
Not to go off on another tangent, but the Sound Reflections came out with a Sound Edge pair of sound reflectors, 15-inch hats, and I was all excited because basically it is a giant.
Wait, are you talking about the 2000 Sound Reflections?
Right.
Oh, you were in for a surprise there, dude. You know how heavy those are, and the hammering is huge on those. They have this big, huge. They're terrible.
It was the clunkiest, most harshest thing I've ever heard, and I was thinking, okay, why would they have to do this? This is just insane. Why would they put this much weight on these hats?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to recap that, 2000 Sound Reflections, 15-inch Sound Edge, clunkiest, heaviest things in the world, giant hammering. I'm paraphrasing here, but basically sound like ass, according to Terrible Terry and his comrade PAISTE Bob. Let's see if there's any more here.
That was the thing. The Sound Edge, hats. I happened to get my hands on a couple pairs after PAISTE discontinued them. I got my hands on a couple pairs, and when they came, they were so heavy, and they had the hammering. You know that big, huge hammering that they use on some sound creations, on some of the alphas. Like it's almost like a golf ball hammering, like that real big hammering.
Exactly, like the ball peen hammer, like just a total moon,
but big, like almost like an inch in diameter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a waste. That was a sad waste of alloy. When they did that, I don't know who.
Hey Bob, do me a favor.
Okay, so moving along here, I believe these are the symbols that they're referring to right here. So here you can see in my picture is every single pair of 15-inch 2000 hats ever made. You got heavies and regular and reflector, and Sound Edge and regular and reflector. And I believe the words waste of alloy were also used. Again, here you can see a close-up of the hammering that they're referring to on a Sound Reflections top. And same hammering you can see here that they're referring to on a Sound Creation New Dimension. And they were also used, that hammering on the 3000 series. I believe some of the early signatures And obviously 2000s, later sound creation, new dimensions, things like that. So you can also go on Facebook in the PAISTE 2000 page, because I believe Terry was basically crucifying them for being, quote, the heaviest cymbals that are clangy and garbage sounding. So if we go here on Facebook, you can see that's me. I'm Dan. I've created a PAISTE 2000 weight table. And all these cymbals I've either owned or played, so that's how I got the weights for them. And you can go over here and you can see 2000 sound reflections. Let's see, 15-inch sound edge hi-hats. I've got a weight here of 1033 on the top, 1309 on the bottom. By no means are these ungodly heavy to people that know the weights of 15-inch PAISTE hi-hats. And if you go online, on YouTube, you can see other weights. They're just marginally heavier than modern giant beats, and the top is even lighter than a modern 2002. The bottom's maybe slightly heavier than a modern 2002 15-inch sound edge, things like that. Now, getting into the regular finish here, the standard finish, some of the tops I've had 100-gram difference, but you can see a lighter top here, maybe a little bit heavier bottom. And then you can go through and look through, the weights of other cymbals here. 18 thin crash, I have some recorded. 1411, 1337. Power crash, obviously a little heavier. 20-inch crash, 1874. I mean, these are on par with vintage giant beat weights, or at least in the neighborhood at the very least. And I've got some videos here. You can see on YouTube, I've put up a video of a 20-inch vintage giant beat with a 20-inch sound reflections crash. So, I mean, you can, judge for yourself and listen. Let's see if we can hear the differences and everything. So, as you can hear and see, whether you know anything about 2000s or vintage giant beats or not, you really only need to have functional ears to at least see that there's examples out there of the two cymbals that sound, very similar and reminiscent of each other. And it would be hard pressed to say that this cymbal sounds heavy and clangy and junky, and the one on the left sounds, amazing and worthy of John Bonham's playing. I have another video here. That's me. Sorry, I'm not much to look at. But as you can see here, I have an entire setup of 2000 sound reflections, including the 15-inch sound edge hi-hat top and everything, and pair that Terry and PAISTE Bob would have you believe sound like just freaking, garbage and to avoid at all costs. So I'm just going to play you a few seconds of this video, and you can hear what they sound like and judge for yourself. Okay, so we just heard the hi-hats. We heard these crashes. By the way, that's a 17 full crash there, 18 full crash, and a 20 full crash. If we go back to my weight table here, That's going to be a 1248 gram 17. The 18 is going to be a 1413 gram, and the 20 is going to be your 1874 gram. Pretty, standard weights and on par with giant beats, in my opinion. And sound reflections are some of my favorite cymbals that Paistes ever produced and everything. I love reflectors, and I think these sound phenomenal, frankly. And if you were to avoid them just based off of the advice and hearsay and anecdotes of Terrible Terry and Paiste Bob, I would say you are doing yourself a disservice in that regard. Um, I'm not going to play you a video, but I have more on YouTube of lots of sound creation, new dimensions, which I think are phenomenal cymbals, some of the best 602 alloy cymbals Paistes ever made, and you can hear the new dimensions dark chinas, and I have bell rides and short crashes and dark crashes, and if it was made, I'd probably have it or have a video recording of it somewhere. And the 20-inch new dimension dark china is one of the best sounding chinas. It's my personal all-time favorite china from Paiste, and yet it has this big hammering, which Terrible Terry and Paiste Bob think makes cymbals sound like garbage for some reason. The other little clip I want to play you here is much later on in the live chat, and Terry's talking about B8 alloys, and how soft they were, and maybe that they were hardened up later on. But he sneaks in a little soundbite here about the Dimension series, which just doesn't seem to really have much context to it. But I'll play it for you.
I don't know if it's just different batches or what it was, but there were, how sometimes with B8, how easily it dents versus, do you know what I mean? Like when you see, like if you see all sorts of old 404s that have dented bells, or 505s dented bells. Sometimes in the early 70s, you'd see it on 2002. But yeah, I'd say generally speaking, the only difference really would be if you stay away from the models that used to be from other lines, like the Dimensions and stuff. Yeah, I think the 2002s they make today are the same ones as they did in the early 70s. Just you have to watch out for the weights.
Okay, so stay away from other models like the Dimensions. I don't know what Dimensions Terry's ever played that he's advising people to stay away from, but Dimensions happen to be another Paiste line, which I think are some of the best B8 cymbals ever made by Paiste. And just as a quick aside, I know Terrible Terry and Paiste Bob are obsessed with vintage giant beats, and vintage giant beats are amazing cymbals. They're so hard to find, and this guy is partly to blame for them commanding such high prices these days, and just the fact that also they're very scarce because they were only produced for like 6 or 7 years. I think, late 60s, maybe 67, 68 through to 1973 or 4, something like that. And then a lot of them were broken, so they're hard to come by, and that's partly why I don't have a lot of them. But I have played them and everything, and they're great. It's just, to have people want those cymbals doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They're very, very hard to come by, and Terrible Terry and Paiste Bob are I'm sure, hoarding plenty of them, which I don't blame them for, and everything. But anyways, Dimensions series are phenomenal B8 cymbals. I'd love for Terry, to check out more of these cymbals, and Paiste Bob too. I just want to show you guys, I have some recordings of their crashes in medium heavy weights and medium thins. So I'm just going to give you a little quick sound test here, and you can decide for yourself whether these should be avoided or they should be sought after. So this is a clip of 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 inch medium heavy crashes from the Dimension series. So here you go. All right, hopefully you enjoyed that. And now I'll give you a little treat here, and we'll play the medium thin crashes from the Dimension series. This is sizes 17, 18, 19, and 20, and we'll see how they sound. Okay, so you got a little taste of that. That's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to address from the live chat here between Terry and Bob. I just I was not too happy and everything to see this kind of information from people that have played trillions of Paiste symbols, self-proclaimed and everything. So I want people out there to know that 2000 reflectors and regulars and dimensions are absolutely top flight, top quality, some of the best Paiste symbols ever made, in my opinion, and they should absolutely not be avoided based off of the opinions and anecdotal experiences of Terrible Terry and Paiste Bob. That being said, Terry, you have an awesome channel and everything. I hope you reach out to me and we can talk more about Paiste in the future because I'd like to share my experiences with you and see what you think and if they align with any of yours or deviate in any way. So that's it. That's my video. Hopefully everyone found it at least helpful, and perhaps there'll be more to come. Take it easy, everybody.